Back to the original bridge for the Mason and Hamlin double C. We like to pull the pins out like this, because if they're all the way in and we put super glue on them, it's almost impossible to pull the pins back out. This one's a little low. The hole is so loose it just falls in. That's okay. So what I do is carefully, with one hand, put a little bit of super glue just around the base. Just like that. Keep soaking this small section until it doesn't soak in anymore. And that makes a very good repair. This lower section I did, it's hard to tell. You can kind of see some of the whitish glue there dried up. These pins are very solid, nice repaired cracks. So we will pull those out and chisel the glue out, true up the faces, make them pretty, sand the graphited surface flat, put new graphite later. But that's pretty much it. We just run super glue around the base of the pins. It goes quick. All these pins. Once I have this done, I'll come back and show what we do next. More bridge work. I sanded the tops of the bridge. All the graphite is gone. Flattened it out a little bit. Made it nice and even. We filled in these divots made by the strings. Those are now flush with the face. You can see here I have scraped away all the old finish and glue we have there. That is almost done. It's just about there. It's going to get a little sanding later to make it nice and pretty. The base section is the same way. This just needs some light sanding and it will be almost finished on the top. The sides are untouched. These will be sanded later. But that's what's going on right now. Slowly chiseling off the old finish and the glue. Carefully, not removing any wood. And we have our assorted tiny little sanding blocks. Little tiny one. And then we have this curved one for getting in here, following the slope. Tedious work, but it's getting there, and it will look very good when it's finished. Here's one of the bridge pins in the base section, all cleaned up, ready to go back in. This part was in the bridge originally, and it was protected, and it's almost perfect. A little bit of steel wool. We filed the tip off, put a tip on this end, so that'll go in very easily, and that will be the new bridge pin. They look very good. Here's an original one that has not been touched yet. You can see where we grabbed it with pliers to pull it out. Still a little dirty. These will be cleaned up. We make sure we don't lose these because sometimes you cannot buy new ones of the same size, so we just put the original ones back. Here's the bridge again. Finally all the glue and finish has been chiseled off, and now I am taking this little sanding block with that slight curve on the end and sanding each scallop, like these first two. I sanded these two right here. Nice even color. So I'm going to sand every single one with that little block and some sandpaper, and then the whole bridge will look very good, and it will be ready for some finish to keep it clean and preserve it. Okay, here is the nice clean bridge caps, and now I am putting on just a little bit of shellac on these scallops to keep them clean, protect them. It's a little messy, but I can sand the tops of these bridges off in about a minute, and then they will be ready for graphite.
Here's a double C bridge. Putting the graphite on now. And this side here already has the graphite, but now we got to do some trimming here. There's always a little spillover because these were graphited before they made these cuts here, so it's a little bit more difficult this way. It's hard to keep the two separated. Anyways, polishing the top with the graphite, and then we'll clean them up after, and we'll put the pins in. Here we are. It's a lot like DAG 157, I guess. But we don't have any of that today. So we're going to do just regular graphite here, and a little bit of water. And you wet the top of the bridge, moisten it rather, and then just polish the graphite into it. And there you have it. Then we're going to put the bridge pins back in, and then we'll see what it looks like. And of course we're going to glue it back onto the soundboard, which is over there waiting. Gotta make sure the holes are clear. Earlier on, those holes were plugged with the original bridge pins, and we super glued them, and then pulled the original bridge pins back out, so to prevents too much glue from going down in the bottom of the hole.
Tragedy strikes. We had a drill bit that was spinning too slow break off in this hole. So we had the bridge upside down, and we drilled at it from the back, and we did take it out. This little bit right here. That was causing a problem. But we got it out good. The hole is in good shape. And as soon as I go to reach for this, to put it back on, to protect the foot, the bridge slips off the table and lands right on this part. Breaks it right off. It's obliterated. It's really upsetting. We could put it back or make a new one. Tape made an outline of how long it was, so that's good if we decide to make it again. Or we could just trim it and make it a little short foot now. It's not crucial to the bridge. And everything else survived the fall. Everything is perfect still. There's no dents on this, which is very nice. It's a big bummer though. We'll decide what to do with that later. These holes are in good shape. That's the important part. And they're not dented. They're still good looking. Thought I would show this old graphite can that we use. We're down to just about the last of it. It's too bad it got all beat up like this. But you can still read most of it. Dixon's Flake Graphite. It tells you that you can add it to gasoline and steam engines. I think this can is about 1900. There's patent dates on it, and the last one is from 1900. Suggestions for adding to your steam engines and such? We have here Dixon's Ticonderoga American Flake Graphite is sold in every civilized country on the face of the globe. So I guess if you can't find this wherever you are is not civilized. That's pretty funny. It's good stuff though. It's very beautiful on these bridges. Here I am putting the original bridge pins back in. That's what they look like, all cleaned up. And I do my best to match the original angle. Hammer them in a little more than halfway. Very tedious. So I do that, and then I take this brass tool and hammer them down about to where they will be. A little more than that maybe. But I do that to all of them, get them all nice and level and even. And once I do that, we can come back and show what we do next. Okay, all the pins are in now, and I am now filing the tops to make them nice and flat, getting rid of all the jagged tops on these. And we only do one side at a time, because if you put all the pins in, and then you have pins over here and here and here and here, and they're all coming out at different angles and jagged, and it makes it very difficult to file. So we just put one side in and file one side, and then we do the other side, and it goes faster. We now have all the pins in. They have all been hammered level. Now I'm making sure they are level with this file. Just grinding them all even. These are very sharp. Gotta be careful not to nick your fingers on them. You can see these last two, if you can see that, need a little more grinding. Some over here too. So I'll just lower all of them evenly until all that marking goes away, and they'll be nice and shiny on the tops. We have these plastics around the place that just so happen to be just about the perfect height for these bridge pins. So I'm sitting down here on the horizon, and I can see the tops of the bridges that are sticking out, and I just file them off, and then that should be good. I'm going to do this to all the pins. They're all a little higher than they should be. This plastic makes it easier. Okay. Finally have all the pins nice and even. I'm now going to sand them. Make sure they are nice and flat. Usually the sandpaper hooks one or two. Hasn't hooked yet, that's good. This allows you to see any that are too low. Here, I'll sand some more. It helps if you have new sandpaper too. You get the idea. And these. Once these are all nice and level, I can switch to a higher grit sandpaper, and the shine on them will be very pretty. So I'll just do this to the whole bridge and we'll come back. All the pin tops are flat now, sanded with 400 paper, nice and shiny. The next step is to true up some of these lines, clean up the graphite that spilt over the edge, sand it off, make it nice and sharp. On these scallops there's some graphite there, you can see. So that will be all cleaned off next, and then we can secure the pins with super glue. Here we have the side of the bridge. It's just about finished being sanded. All the old yellow finish is off, and it will get a fresh coat of shellac very soon. Oops. Here is the next step. Putting just a tiny amount of super glue around the base of these pins. It flows around the base of the pin. This makes them very solid. No false beats. Another tedious job. Do this to every pin. But it goes quick. And if it gets a little blobby, you can just touch it with the rag. And it makes it nice. Here's the last step. Everything has been sanded. Just putting a quick coat of shellac on the side. Keep it clean, protect it, makes it look better. And then it should be ready to go onto the board. Here's one more look at the bridge. Nice and clean, shiny pin tops. New coat of shellac on the edges. All original except the finish on the scallops and sides and the graphite. We also added some super glue to the pins, the original pins. This is a 1930 Mason and Hamlin CC, not 1917. We thought it was older, but the owner has been doing some research with the number we have, and they have discovered that this is a 1930 piano, and it seems to be the very last one they made. This was the last one that left the factory in 1930. They stopped making them after this one. So this is the newest one. That's pretty interesting. We could always be wrong. So if you have a Mason and Hamlin CC with a number bigger than that, let us know. But as far as we can tell, this seems to be the newest one. So that's pretty interesting. So the next time you see this, it should be being glued onto the soundboard. And down here, I should show the little foot. Unfortunately, that got broken in the process. It was a big bummer. This piece was about out to here. So we just trimmed it down, made it look nice and clean. That's okay. It's not crucial to the function of the piano. So that's fine. We need to be more careful next time. But this is the original bridge, ready to go onto the soundboard. Once we get the soundboard ready, which should be soon, this will be glued on.